Today is recovery day. It's Sunday, so I'm not training at all today. I just do, it's a rest day, but I do a little bit of foam rolling and some trigger point release. I think it's a good opportunity to sort of see the parts of your body that are sore and that you're feeling it. And for me, I'm dealing with some golfer's elbow right now, so I'll just do a couple of minutes of trigger point release like what I'm doing. I'm going to do some muscle scraping with this muscle scraper here with a little bit of sports ointment to rub in to the area. And then I can feel, I've got plenty of issues going on in my back. So I've got scoliosis and spondylolisthesis and a pars fracture and a whole bunch of stuff that I have to manage all the time. And what I find is that if I neglect the areas that are tightening up, when I'm starting to feel those cramps come on or those muscle spasms, whatever you want to call them, eventually it ends up getting bad enough that I have to go to the chiropractor or get a sports massage. And I still do that periodically anyway because it really helps me continue training at the level that I train at. But it's an apple a day keeps the doctor away, or is that the right saying? Maybe it's a stitch in time saves nine is more relevant here. So I'll do some trigger point release on the spots of my back that are particularly sore and that I can feel that are cramping up. And I've got, wonderful DOMs today because I did a really good week of training. So, this is what I do every Sunday. Sometimes we get people come into the UMS Tribe membership and they ask for a 7-day-a-week program. And that's a really bad idea, I think. I've never trained 7 days a week for any extended period of time, and I don't know anybody that's really good that trains 7 days a week. Recovery is really important. And the more you train, the more intense your training sessions are, the more regular, the more consistent and frequent you are with your training, the more relevant a full rest and recovery day is. So for me, Sundays, I don't do anything that resembles training. I'll do I'll do gentle stretching, passive stretching, or I'll do foam rolling, or like what you see me doing here. And man, my forearms are just getting hammered at the moment because I'm doing this golfer's elbow rehab. So doing this it's really tender. And just with a lacrosse ball like this, these are my favorite ones. I've got a link in the description of this video, same with all the equipment I use. If you want to be able to get the same stuff that I use at a good price on Amazon. Oh, this is brutal. But it's brutal in that way of like, when you get a good sports massage and it's just horrible in some points when they're doing it and you're going like, but when you finish and you walk out, you feel really good. It's brutal in that way. And so I'm just pushing down with this arm, with my right arm, this one. No, I'm not even pushing. I'm letting the weight of my body fall all the way onto this arm. And you just find the tender spots and then move the wrist up and down a bit. So you're flossing the muscles and the fascia. This is particularly tender. Oh, that was something else. Okay. So now I'm going to use my muscle scraper. This thing's really good. These guys at Achedaway approached me a little while ago and asked if I'd review their muscle scraper. And I did. And I really like it. I honestly, I like it. I use it. I think it's good. good piece of equipment. So I just like, because I'm dealing with golfer's elbow or medial epicondylitis, you've got to really get around there and then scrape towards the heart. And even though you feel it up there in the medial, in the tendons that connect to the medial epicondyle, that's where you feel it, where I'm scraping. The muscles go, because it's the muscles that control wrist flexion that do that. So they come from here all the way up to there. So going down through the whole, I'm just moving some of the gel there, forearm is beneficial. And this is just some of that sports gel. It's no particular brand that I'm using. It's just, the sports ointment that you use that creates that warming sensation and apparently is good to reduce inflammation. And even if it doesn't work, I really don't care, because I need something to lube up the skin and be able to, actually not get friction when you do this. And so I may as well use a sports gel. So I'm always scraping towards the heart to flush any metabolic byproducts back into the system towards the heart so they get circulated through the system. And my golfer's elbow is starting to feel a lot better. My training's working, which is good. So that's it, just that much, once a week is enough for me to notice a big difference, which is really cool. Now you won't be able to see exactly where I'm putting the ball, but it's not actually that relevant. I've been asked before, what's the exact muscle that you're doing there, or where is it? And I learned this from an incredible sports physiotherapist, Nilesh Murthy, who's a friend and who was working out of Unity Gym for about a year during that COVID era. And he's a head sports physio for one of the Australian football clubs or soccer clubs. He's at the top of his game. And when he was treating me, when I did my second slap tear, and he was doing his thing, and there'd be these times when he'd be pushing into me and digging in, and it was really uncomfortable for about 10 seconds, and then he'd release it, and then he'd go, all right, I'm going again. And after several weeks or months of working with him once a week, I said, because I had my understanding of what trigger point release is, but I wanted to hear it from a physiotherapist. I said, what are you doing there? Are you hitting a specific muscle? Are you going for the lats there? Are you going for the rhomboids? Are you going for the pec? And he said, no, I'm just finding the spot. I know the general area of, these muscles, if they're tight, are going to affect this part of your body. But I just feel around until I find a spot that feels really tight, and then I push in there. And what it's doing is it's basically giving the nervous system and the brain a pain response that is greater than what's already there, that causes a systematic release of the tension. Because muscle spasms, or knots, what people call them, they're generally just the nervous system tightening up muscles to prevent a perceived threat of injury. And so all I'm doing, the reason I'm sitting like this now is because I've found a spot and I'm trying to get as much weight onto that spot as I can. And so if I lift up and take the weight off the other areas of my back, because the ball's under here right now, see, it's just there. So it puts more weight onto that spot. So that's all I'm doing. So I can feel that the right side of my body is a bit out of whack. And so I go to a general area and then move around until I like find a spot that, oh, there we go, that feels much more particularly sore. And you've really got to get specific, like just tiny little movements. And then when I really get the spot, I'm just going to maneuver my body so I can get as much weight on there as possible. There we go. As much weight on there as possible, and then hold it for about 10 seconds. Oh. And it's very tender. And then I go to the next spot. And I really find that by doing this, even just once a week, even if all you do, and it's really full on. Oh. If you only do this once a week, that's infinitely more beneficial than doing it 0 times a week, right? You know, if you don't do it at all versus doing it once a week, you might think, oh, it's not enough, but it's a lot more than doing it 0 times a week. So for me, my back is the part where I need it the most. And sometimes I won't do it for a week, but what I find is that if I do it even when I don't feel like I need it, then I actually need it less, which is good. That's the idea. If I wait until I need it, often it doesn't give the same result as, you know, it's like maintenance versus responding to issues. And yeah, I know you can't see exactly where I'm putting it, but it doesn't matter if you can't see it. Oh, there's a spot. It's about, and I remember when I was starting to learn, oh, that one was brutal, how to do this trigger point release stuff, and it really took time to be able to do what I can do in a very short amount of time now. It wasn't as quick for me. Like anything, you know, practice makes perfect. And when you practice doing this stuff, you'll learn how to get the good point, like really get the pressure in there. You learn how to get it much quicker, you know, with practice after time. So this one, now I'm really getting into my lats. You know, the same physio. When I did the slap tear, the first thing he did, he said, how tight are your lats? And he did a test on me and my lats for flexibility. And I asked him why he did that. And these are the words of a world-class sports physio, not my own words. He said 90% of shoulder issues are fixed when you increase the flexibility in the lats, when you stretch the lats out. And since then, at my later stages of, you know, overcoming slap tears in both shoulders, when I do get pain in my shoulder that will just come out of nowhere, because that'll still happen. Sometimes I'll reach for something and go, I'll do a stretch in my lats for 30 seconds, pain gone instantly. So, and I know how to do good lat stretching, so I can do it really easily. You can do it in a door frame. You can do it on anything, vertical or horizontal, that you can hold on to. You can do a really good lat stretch. And so I'm just really getting into the lats here as much as I can, up around the shoulder. And then I move into like the rotator cuff to try and get the external rotators of the rotator cuff. Oh, there's a good one. And this is for me, right? Like the worst things in my body, the things that prevent me, I shouldn't say the worst things, the things that prevent me from being able to just go hell for leather with my training is niggling golfer's elbow and old shoulder injuries and issues that I feel in my back that I described before. Might be totally different for you. For you, it might be knee problems. And if that was the case, then you wouldn't spend your time doing everything I'm doing. For me, my knees are fine. I don't have problems with my knees, not problems that are preventing me from doing what I want to be able to do anyway. You might have, I know that we've got people in the UMS tribe who have talked about, they've got hamstring strains or hamstring tears that they can't get rid of. I haven't personally suffered with hamstring injuries, but my brother Yanni and business partner has. He completely tore his ACL, and they took one of the tendons of his hamstring and recreated an ACL with it when he got his knee reconstruction. And so he's had plenty of issues with hamstrings. And he reckons that, after many, many, many months of having like a hamstring strain that was preventing him from deadlifting heavy, he eventually started really doing trigger point release like what I'm doing. And it took a little bit of consistent trigger point release work, but eventually all his problems went away. And I've heard other people talk about the same thing with hamstring issues, So you're watching me do what my body needs, but, unless you have the same issues as I do, then you would want to do what your body needs. It's all about listening to your body. And this is why if you watch my daily workouts that I do, I always start with foam rolling. And I do that because I find foam rolling to be a really good check-in for how your body's doing. When you watch me do my workout, it takes 5 minutes and it does warm you up. It gets the blood circulating into your muscles and it can increase heart rate, but it's like a little check-in. It's like this way of your daily little check-in where you go, oh, that area is more tender than it was yesterday or whatever it is. And it allows me to, I can pay a bit more attention to it. And then after a day or two, if it's not getting any better, I can go, okay, I need a bit more work on this. And then I'll get this lacrosse ball out and have a go. And personally, I use really firm rollers. I actually, I've got a vibrating roller, which is really firm. They're more expensive and they're really good. If you want to get one, get it. But in the description of these videos, I link a rumble roller because a rumble rollers are way better in terms of cost. If I didn't have a vibrating roller, because we bought it through the business so that I could test it, I would definitely just be using a rumble roller. The rumble rollers are really, really good. But I think foam rollers are far too soft and gentle. Once you've had your initial adaptation to trigger point release, you need something more, that gets in there. And that if you actually do trigger point release regularly, you adapt pretty quickly to it. And so what causes you a lot of discomfort at the start, all of a sudden doesn't cause you that much discomfort anymore. So that's, really what I do on my days off. Sunday today, so tomorrow is week 2 of 2024. And it'll be the first Monday of this year that I'll be doing the first week where I'm going to be doing my locomotion and flow and handstand and hanging work first in the morning. And then I'll be doing my strength training later in the evening. So keep an eye out for it.